Can someone please control that child? The words slice through Milano House like a blade, sharp and unforgiving. An older woman in pearls says it loud enough for everyone to hear. But Hazel Quinn doesn't move. She stands 3 tables away, a tray balanced on one hand, watching what everyone else is too uncomfortable to see. A small boy, maybe 6 years old, sits alone in the VIP section. His father hasn't arrived yet. His hands shake against the white tablecloth. His breathing comes too fast, too shallow, and then he grabs his water glass and hurls it to the floor. The crystal explodes against marble. The restaurant erupts in gasps and whispers. Chairs scrape back. Silverware clatters. Whose child is that? Someone needs to call his parents. This is unacceptable. The boy's chest heaves. His eyes dart from face to face, all of them staring, judging. He's drowning in their attention. Hazel sets her tray down without a sound. She's seen this before. Not the expensive restaurant or the VIP booth, but the fear, the panic rising like floodwater. She knows what comes next. Julia, the restaurant manager, rushes forward in her sharp heels. "Aiden, sweetheart, let's move you somewhere quieter." She reaches for the boy's arm. He recoils like she's struck him. He scrambles backward, his small body colliding with the booth. Then he drops to the floor and crawls beneath the table, pressing himself against the center column, hiding. Julia crouches down, her voice tight. "Aiden, please, you need to come out." But the boy curls tighter, making himself smaller, invisible. Hazel walks toward them. Her footsteps are soft, deliberate. She doesn't rush, doesn't speak. She just moves through the crowd like water finding its path. When she reaches the VIP section, she kneels on the cold marble floor, eye level with the darkness beneath the table. She says nothing at first, just lets him see her. Then, in a voice barely louder than breath, "You're safe here." The boy, Aiden, lifts his head. His wide brown eyes lock onto hers. He's still trembling, but he's listening. Hazel doesn't smile, doesn't make promises. She just stays. "Do you want to breathe with me?" she asks gently. Aiden stares at her. 1. Hazel takes a slow, visible breath. Aiden's chest stutters. 2. He tries to match her. 3. His breathing evens out, just barely. Around them, the restaurant settles. Conversations resume. The violinist starts playing again. But under the table, in this small pocket of stillness, something shifts. Trust. When Hazel extends her hand, palm up, no pressure, Aiden takes it. His fingers are cold and trembling, but they hold on. "I'm not going anywhere," Hazel whispers. Behind her, Julia speaks urgently into her phone. "Yes, Mr. Moretti, there's been an incident. Your son is fine, but you need to come now." Hazel tunes her out, because right now the only thing that matters is the boy, whose hand is gripping hers like a lifeline. The boy who finally takes a full, steady breath. Hazel has been kneeling on the floor for nearly 5 minutes when Aiden finally speaks. "They were all looking at me." His voice is so small, almost swallowed by the space around them. "I know," Hazel says softly, still holding his hand. "That must have felt really overwhelming." "I didn't want to throw the glass." Aiden's words come out in a rush now, as if he's been holding them back too long. Everyone kept staring and whispering, and my chest got tight, and I couldn't breathe, and then my hand just did it." "I understand," Hazel says, and she does. She grew up in foster care, 6 different homes. between the ages of 6 and 18. 6 different families who promised stability and delivered chaos. 6 different sets of rules she had to learn and unlearn. She learned early how to read the temperature of a room before entering, how to sense when an adult was about to lose their temper, when a door was about to slam, when it was time to disappear into the background and become invisible. She learned to recognize panic because she lived with it as a constant companion for years, and she sees it now, clear as daylight, in this boy's face. Aiden peeks out from under the table cautiously. The restaurant has returned to its usual rhythm. Waiters gliding between tables with practiced grace, the soft clink of silverware against fine china, the low murmur of conversation punctuated by quiet laughter. But his hand still grips hers. "Are they still mad?" he whispers. "No one's mad at you," Hazel assures him. "They were just surprised, but everyone's already forgotten about it and gone back to their dinners." Aiden considers this carefully, his young mind processing whether she's telling the truth. "My name's Hazel," she offers gently, even though she already said it. Sometimes repetition creates comfort. "What's yours?" "Aiden." "It's really nice to meet you, Aiden, even though the circumstances aren't great." The corner of his mouth twitches, almost a smile. "You're not scared of me." "Scared of you?" Hazel's voice is genuinely surprised. "Why would I be scared of you?" "Because I break things. Because I'm bad." Hazel's heart cracks a little. "You're not bad, Aiden, not even close." "But I threw the glass." "You were overwhelmed and your body reacted," Hazel says firmly but kindly. "That doesn't make you bad, it makes you human." Aiden stares at her like no one's ever said anything like that to him before. "Do you work here?" he asks after a moment. "I do. I'm a waitress." "Do you like it?" Hazel considers this honestly. "Most days, yes. I like meeting different people. I like learning their stories." "Even when they break things?" This time, Hazel does smile. "Especially then." Because that's usually when people need kindness the most. Aiden's shoulders relax another fraction. She can see him starting to trust that maybe, just maybe, this adult is different from the others. "Can I stay under here a little longer?" he asks tentatively. "You can stay under there as long as you need to feel safe," Hazel says. "But I think you might be more comfortable sitting back up in the booth. It's softer up there, and you'll be able to see when your dad arrives. Would you like to try?" Aiden hesitates, fear flickering across his face again. "I'll help you," Hazel adds. "And if it doesn't feel right, you can come back under. Deal?" Aiden thinks about this. Then, slowly, he nods. "Okay." He crawls out from beneath the table carefully, as if expecting someone to yell at him, but no one does. The nearby diners politely avert their eyes, giving him privacy. Hazel stands with him, keeping her movements calm and unhurried. She extends her hand again, and this time Aiden takes it without hesitation. She helps him back into the booth, and he sits with his back pressed firmly against the leather, his legs dangling above the floor. His small hands grip the edge of the table. "How does this feel?" Hazel asks. "Better," Aiden admits, "but still scary." "That makes sense. You've been through something hard. Your body is still remembering that." Aiden looks up at her with those big brown eyes. "You understand a lot of things." "I've been scared before too," Hazel says simply, "so I recognize it when I see it in someone else." Julia appears at Hazel's elbow, her face still tight with stress, but trying to mask it. Hazel, Mr. Moretti will be here in less than 5 minutes. Please make absolutely certain everything is perfect. Everything's fine, Hazel says steadily, her eyes never leaving Aiden. Julia's gaze flickers between them, clearly wanting to say more but deciding against it. She hurries away, straightening already straight silverware on nearby tables. Aiden watches her go. Is she mad at me? She's just worried about her job, Hazel explains. But that's not about you. That's about her own worries. Aiden nods, processing this. Then his face falls. My dad's going to be really upset. Why do you think that? Because I always mess things up. His voice drops to barely a whisper. I'm not good at anything. Hazel's chest tightens. She wants to gather this child up and tell him he's perfect exactly as he is. But she knows that won't help. Not really. What he needs is to be seen, to be heard, to be believed. Can I tell you something? Hazel says, sitting down across from him in the booth. Aiden nods. When I was around your age, I lived with a family who had a lot of rules, and I tried really hard to follow them all. But I kept messing up. Breaking dishes, forgetting things, getting scared. Hazel's voice is gentle, inviting. And I thought I was bad too, that there was something wrong with me. Aiden leans forward slightly, captivated. But I learned something important, Hazel continues. I wasn't bad, I was just scared, and when you're scared, it's hard to do anything right, because your whole body is busy trying to protect you. That's what happens to me, Aiden breathes. My body just does things and I can't stop it. Exactly, and that's not your fault. Aiden looks at her like she's handed him the most precious gift in the world. Permission to be imperfect. Would you like me to stay with you until your dad gets here? Hazel asks. Aiden's response is immediate and fervent. Yes, please, please stay. So Hazel stays. She sits across from this boy she just met, in a booth reserved for the city's most powerful people, ignoring the pointed stares from her co-workers and the whispered conversations happening in the kitchen. None of that matters. What matters is the child in front of her, who's finally breathing normally again. Aiden traces invisible patterns on the tablecloth with his finger, a nervous habit. Can I ask you something? Of course. Do you have kids? No, I don't. Why not? Hazel smiles softly. I guess I haven't found the right time yet, or maybe the right person to have them with. Aiden considers this very seriously. I think you'd be really good at it. You're not scary like most grown-ups. Thank you. That's one of the nicest things anyone's ever said to me. My dad is scary sometimes, Aiden admits, his voice dropping even lower. But not because he's mean, he's important, really important. And when he talks, everyone listens. Everyone does what he says. Hazel hears the weight behind those words, the loneliness, the distance between father and son. That sounds like a lot of pressure, she says gently, for both of you. Yeah, Aiden whispers. Sometimes I think he wishes I was different, braver, stronger, not so scared all the time. I don't think that's true. The front door of Milano House swings open, and the entire restaurant changes. The air itself seems to shift, growing heavier, charged with a different kind of energy. Aiden's eyes go wide. He's here. If you've ever been the calm in someone else's storm, or wished someone had been yours, stay with us. And if this story is touching your heart, let us know by subscribing. We're just getting started. Raphael Moretti, doesn't walk into Milano House. He commands it the moment he crosses the threshold. The door swings open with controlled force, and every conversation in the restaurant stops mid-sentence. Every fork freezes mid-air. Even the violinist's bow falters for half a beat before resuming. He wears a black wool coat that falls to his knees, tailored so perfectly it must have cost more than Hazel makes in 6 months. Beneath it, a charcoal suit with subtle pinstripes. His shoes are polished to a mirror shine. His dark hair is swept back, revealing a face that's all sharp angles, strong jaw, prominent cheekbones, a mouth set in a firm line. But it's his eyes that capture attention. Dark, almost black in the low light of the restaurant, and absolutely unreadable. He's 41 years old, but his presence makes him seem ageless, timeless, the kind of man who's been navigating dangerous waters his entire life and has learned to move through them without making a ripple, until he wants to make waves, and when he moves, everyone in the room holds their breath. Hazel feels the shift in energy before she fully processes it. The way the staff straightens their spines, the way Julia's face goes pale and then flushes, the way Marco, Raphael's bodyguard, follows 2 steps behind like a shadow made solid. She turns her head, and there he is, Raphael Moretti, head of the Moretti Syndicate, a name that's whispered in boardrooms and courtrooms with equal measures of fear and respect. A man whose word can end careers, close businesses, change the trajectory of lives. But right now he's just a father looking for his son. His gaze sweeps the restaurant, sharp, assessing, cataloging every detail in seconds. When his eyes land on the VIP booth, his entire body goes still. He sees Aiden, and he sees her. Hazel is still sitting in the booth across from the boy, her presence calm and steady. Her uniform is slightly rumpled from kneeling on the floor. There's a small scuff on her knee. For a fraction of a second, so brief most people would miss it, something flickers across Raphael's face. Relief. Then it's gone, replaced by the mask of control he wears like armor. He crosses the restaurant in long, purposeful strides. The other diners part for him instinctively, even though he doesn't ask them to move. His presence simply demands space. Marco follows, his eyes constantly scanning, assessing potential threats even in this upscale restaurant. When Raphael reaches the booth, Aiden looks up. "Dad." The word comes out small, uncertain. "Aiden." Raphael's voice is low and controlled, revealing nothing. "Are you hurt?" Aiden shakes his head quickly, his brown hair falling across his forehead. "No." Raphael's gaze drops to the floor, to the pile of swept crystal glittering in a dustpan nearby, evidence of what happened. Then back to his son. "What happened?" Aiden's face crumples slightly, fear and shame warring across his features. "There were too many people looking at me, and they were whispering, and my chest got really tight, and I couldn't breathe, and I didn't mean to throw it, Dad, I promise. His voice breaks completely. Raphael's jaw tightens. A muscle jumps in his cheek. He says nothing for a long, heavy moment. The silence stretches. Aiden shrinks into himself, waiting for anger, for disappointment, for whatever comes next. But then Raphael's eyes move to Hazel. She's still sitting quietly in the booth, her hands folded on the table. She doesn't shrink from his gaze, doesn't look away. She just meets his eyes steadily. "Who are you?" Raphael asks. His tone isn't harsh, but it's not warm either. It's the voice of a man who needs to understand every variable. every player, every potential threat. Hazel Quinn, I work here as a waitress. And you were sitting with my son. Yes. Why? Before Hazel can answer, Aiden speaks up, his voice gaining strength. She helped me, Dad. Raphael's gaze snaps back to his son. How? I was under the table, hiding, because I got really scared. Aiden's words come faster now, eager to explain. And everyone else was trying to make me come out, but she didn't. She got down on the floor with me, and she showed me how to breathe, and she told me I wasn't bad. Raphael looks at Hazel again, and this time there's something different in his expression. Confusion mixed with something that might be gratitude. You sat on the floor, Raphael says slowly, as if confirming facts. Yes, Hazel replies simply, and you helped him through a panic attack. I recognized the signs. I've experienced them myself. Raphael is silent for several beats. His eyes move between Hazel and his son, and she can almost see him trying to solve an equation that doesn't add up. His son, who flinches at unfamiliar touch, who cries when strangers get too close, who hasn't trusted anyone in months, is leaning toward this woman like she's a lighthouse in a storm. Hazel stands slowly, smoothing her apron. I should get back to my other tables. Wait, Raphael says. It's the first time his voice has carried any hint of uncertainty. Aiden suddenly slides out of the booth. Before anyone can react, he walks straight to Hazel and wraps his small arms around her waist. He holds on tight. Hazel's hand comes up instinctively, resting gently on the back of his head, her fingers barely touching his hair. Raphael stares. His son, who hasn't willingly hugged anyone in 6 months, who screams when therapists try to touch him, who can barely tolerate his own father's presence sometimes, is embracing a stranger. What did she do to make him stand still? The question burns in Raphael's mind, urgent and bewildering. Marco steps forward slightly, uncertain whether this is a threat or a miracle. After a long moment, Aiden pulls back. He looks up at Hazel with those big brown eyes, now clearer than before. Thank you, he whispers. You're very welcome, Hazel says softly. Raphael clears his throat. Aiden, we need to leave. Marco has the car waiting. Can Hazel come with us? Aiden asks immediately, hope lighting up his face. She has to work, but she helped me, and I feel better when she's close. Raphael's expression tightens. He's not used to negotiating with a 6-year-old. He's not used to his son expressing needs so clearly. Aiden, please, Dad. The word, so simple, so raw, hits Raphael harder than any business negotiation ever has. He looks at Hazel, really looks at her this time, sees a young woman in a rumpled uniform with kind eyes and dirt on her knees from kneeling on his son's behalf. She has a job here, Raphael says, his voice gentler now. We can't just take her away from her work. Aiden's face falls. Hazel steps in softly. But I work most evenings, so if you come back, we can probably see each other again. Aiden brightens immediately. Really? Really? Okay. Aiden walks back to his father and takes his hand, an action so natural it seems to surprise Raphael. Can we come back tomorrow? Raphael looks down at his son, at the hope in his face, at the way he's standing taller than he has in months. We'll see, he says, but there's a softness in his voice that wasn't there before. As they turn to leave, Raphael pauses. He looks back at Hazel one more time. His expression is still unreadable, but there's something in his eyes, a question, a need, a recognition that something important just happened. "Miss Quinn," he says. "Yes? Thank you." The words are simple, but the weight behind them is immense. Then he's gone, Aiden's hand in his, Marco following like a shadow, and Hazel stands in the empty VIP section, her heart pounding, wondering what she just walked into. Hazel is clearing table 9, carefully stacking plates, collecting used silverware, wiping down the already clean surface, when Julia appears at her side. The manager's face is drawn tight, her lips pressed into a thin line. Her hands are trembling slightly. "Back room," Julia says quietly. "Now." Hazel's stomach drops. "Did I do something wrong?" "Just come now." They walk through the restaurant, past the curious stares of other waitstaff, through the swinging kitchen doors where line cooks shout orders and pans sizzle, past the walk-in cooler and the dish station, into the small storage room where staff take their 15-minute breaks, where the fluorescent light flickers overhead and the walls are lined with industrial shelving units holding backup supplies. Julia closes the door with a sharp click that echoes in the small space. Then she rounds on Hazel. "Do you have any idea what you just did?" Julia's voice trembles between anger and fear. Hazel sets down the rag she was still holding. "I helped a child who was having a panic attack. That was Raphael Moretti's son." Julia's voice rises, then drops again quickly, mindful of thin walls. "Do you understand what that means? It means he's a little boy who needed. It means he's the heir to one of the most powerful families in this city." Julia paces the small room, her heels clicking sharply against the concrete floor. It means his father controls half the businesses in this neighborhood. It means one word from him could close this restaurant down like that. She snaps her fingers. Hazel takes a slow breath. "I understand that, but he was still a child in crisis. You sat in the VIP booth without permission. Julia's control is slipping. You made physical contact with a guest's child. You created a scene in the middle of the dinner rush. He was under the table hiding," Hazel says, her voice remaining calm despite the accusation. "No one else was helping him. What was I supposed to do? Call me, call security, wait for his father." Julia's hands shake. You can't just. She trails off, running her hands through her carefully styled hair. "I did what needed to be done," Hazel says quietly, "and Mr. Moretti thanked me for it. This time," Julia says, her voice dropping to a harsh whisper. "But what about next time? What if he decides you overstepped? What if he's angry we allowed it? What if—" A knock on the door interrupts them. Both women freeze. The door opens slowly. Marco stands in the doorway, his large frame filling the space. His face is professionally neutral, revealing nothing. "Mr. Moretti would like to speak with Ms. Quinn," he says. Julia's face goes completely white. All the blood drains from her cheeks. Oh God, this is it. "I'm so sorry, Mr. Marco. She didn't mean any disrespect. I'll fire her immediately if that's what Mr. Moretti wants. We would never intentionally—" "Alone," Marco adds, his eyes fixed on Hazel, in the private dining room. Julia looks like she might actually faint. Hazel's heart is hammering in her chest, but she keeps her exterior calm. "I'll come now." "This way." Hazel follows Marco through the restaurant. She can feel the weight of every stare, from the kitchen staff, from the other servers, from the busboys and the hostess. Everyone knows what it means to be summoned by Raphael Moretti. It's never good, or at least it's never simple. The private dining room is at the very back of Milano House, behind heavy wooden doors with brass handles. It's where the restaurant's most important guests conduct business over wine and carefully prepared meals, where deals are made and broken, where power exchanges hands under the guise of dinner conversation. Marco opens the door without knocking. He gestures for Hazel to enter. She steps inside. The door closes behind her with a soft, final click. Raphael Moretti sits at the head of a long mahogany table that could easily seat 12 people. He's removed his coat. His suit jacket is unbuttoned. A glass of deep red wine sits in front of him, barely touched. The room is dimly lit by a brass chandelier overhead. The walls are dark wood paneling. Heavy curtains cover the windows. It smells of leather and expensive cologne and something else, power maybe, authority. Raphael doesn't stand when she enters. "Sit," he says. It's not a request. It's not quite a command either. It's somewhere in between. Hazel sits in the chair directly across from him. The table feels impossibly wide. For a long moment, neither of them speaks. Raphael just watches her. His dark eyes are sharp, intelligent, taking in every detail. The way she sits with her spine straight despite her nervousness. The way her hands rest calmly in her lap, even though they must be shaking. The way she meets his gaze without flinching. He's trying to figure her out, trying to understand what kind of person does what she did. Finally, he leans forward slightly. His forearms rest on the table. His fingers are clasped together. "What did you do to my son?" The question hangs in the air between them. Hazel blinks. "I'm sorry?" He doesn't trust anyone. Raphael's voice is measured, controlled, but there's something raw underneath. Not me, not his mother, not the therapists we've hired, not his teachers or his doctors or anyone else we've brought into his life. He pauses. But 5 minutes with you and he's calm. 5 minutes and he's hugging you. 5 minutes and he's asking you to come home with us. Hazel doesn't know what to say. "So I'll ask again," Raphael says, his gaze intensifying. "What did you do?" She takes a slow breath, choosing her words carefully. "Nothing extraordinary. I just recognized what was happening and responded to it." Recognized what, exactly? A panic attack. The signs are pretty clear if you know what to look for. And you know what to look for. Yes. Because? Because I've had them myself, Hazel says simply. Many times. I grew up in foster care. 6 different homes between ages 6 and 18. You learn to recognize panic when it's been your constant companion. Raphael's expression doesn't change, but something shifts in his eyes. Foster care. Yes. 6 homes. Yes. He's silent for several beats, processing this information, and that taught you how to handle a child in crisis. It taught me how to recognize a child in crisis, Hazel corrects gently. And it taught me what helps and what doesn't, what makes it worse and what makes it better. Which is presence, Hazel says. Not fixing, not solving, not forcing, just being there, just staying close, just breathing together until the storm passes. Raphael leans back in his chair. He picks up his wine glass, swirls it absently, but doesn't drink. My son has been through significant trauma in the past year, he says, his voice quieter now. His mother and I divorced. The process was difficult, contentious. He was caught in the middle of things no child should witness. Raphael's jaw tightens. He had to change schools, new house, new routines. Everything stable in his life disappeared. Hazel listens, saying nothing. He has nightmares every night, Raphael continues. He throws things when he's overwhelmed. He hides under furniture. He cries without provocation. And He stops abruptly. The admission dies on his lips, but Hazel hears it anyway. And I have no idea how to help him. Have you asked him what he needs? Hazel ventures carefully. Raphael's eyes snap to hers. He's 6 years old? That doesn't mean he doesn't know, Hazel says. Children often understand exactly what they need. They just don't always have the words for it. Or they've learned that adults don't listen when they try to express it. Raphael is quiet for a long time. Then, what would you suggest I do? Before Hazel can answer, before she can even begin to formulate a response to such an enormous question, the door bursts open. Aiden runs in, his small face flushed and breathless. Marco is right behind him, looking apologetic and frustrated in equal measure. I told him to wait in the car, sir. He wouldn't listen. But Aiden ignores everyone. He runs straight to Hazel, his small shoes slapping against the hardwood floor. He grabs her hand with both of his. Can you eat dinner with us? His eyes are bright with desperate hope. Please, I'll be really good. I won't break anything, I promise. Raphael goes completely rigid in his chair. Aiden, he says, his voice strained. I told you to wait in the car. But I wanted to ask her. Aiden's words tumble out in a rush. Before she leaves, before we go home. She has to work. Please. Aiden looks at his father with such raw, unfiltered need that even Raphael's carefully constructed control begins to crack. For the first time since Hazel met him, she sees Raphael Moretti hesitate. She sees uncertainty flicker across his face. She sees a father who would do anything for his son, even let a complete stranger into his carefully guarded world, even ask for help from someone he just met, even admit that he doesn't have all the answers. And in that moment, Hazel sees past the reputation, past the power, past the name that makes entire rooms go quiet. She sees a man who's terrified of failing the person who matters most. The private dining room feels smaller with 3 people in it. Raphael sits at the head of the table, his posture controlled, but his eyes watchful. Aiden sits to his left, swinging his legs beneath the chair. Hazel sits across from them both, a plate of pasta she hasn't touched in front of her. It's the strangest dinner she's ever attended. The silence stretches for nearly a minute before Aiden speaks. Hazel, do you like pasta? I do, she says gently. Me too, but I can only eat it plain, no sauce. Raphael glances at his son. You used to ask for extra marinara. That was before, Aiden says quietly. Before what? Aiden doesn't answer. He stares at his plate. Hazel watches the exchange, recognizing the pattern. A child holding back because he doesn't think anyone will truly listen. Aiden, Hazel says softly, what's something you really love doing? He looks up, surprised by the question. Drawing. What do you like to draw? Houses. Raphael's hand stills on his fork. What kind of houses? Hazel asks. Aiden pulls a crumpled piece of paper from his pocket and smooths it on the table. It's a crayon drawing of a small house. Red door, flowers in window boxes, a big tree in the yard. Like this, Aiden says, his finger tracing the outline of the house. It's not big, not like where we live now, but it looks warm, safe, like the kind of place where you could be yourself and no one would be mad. Hazel's throat tightens. It's beautiful, Aiden, really beautiful. Do you think so? His eyes search hers for truth. I know so. Raphael stares at the drawing. His son has been doing this for months, filling notebooks with sketches of small houses, cozy spaces, humble dwellings. And Raphael never understood why until this moment. He's drawing what he wishes home felt like. My dad's house isn't like this, Aiden whispers, so quietly, Hazel almost doesn't hear it. Raphael goes very still. Aiden, it's too big, Aiden continues, his words gaining momentum now that they've started. There are so many rooms I don't even know what they're all for, and hallways that echo, and guards everywhere. And everyone is always watching me, waiting for me to mess up. Hazel sees the way Raphael's jaw clenches, the way his knuckles go white on the table, the way he's fighting to stay composed. And I get lost sometimes, Aiden adds. In my own house, isn't that stupid? It's not stupid, Hazel says immediately. It feels stupid. Feeling lost in a place that's supposed to be home is one of the hardest feelings in the world, Hazel says softly. And it's not stupid at all. Aiden looks at her with such gratitude, such relief at being understood. Aiden, Hazel says gently, I think it might help if you told your dad how you're feeling. He wants to understand. He wants to help. But he can't if he doesn't know. Aiden looks at his father, really looks at him. And Raphael sees his son's face, vulnerable, afraid, but also desperate to be heard. What is it? Raphael asks, his voice rougher than usual. Tell me. Aiden's lip trembles, his small hands grip the edge of the table, and then the words come tumbling out in a rush. I'm scared you're going to send me back to Mom. The words hit Raphael like a physical blow. All the color drains from his face. Why would you think that? Because I'm not good at this. Tears begin spilling down Aiden's cheeks now, fast and hot. I'm not good at being brave. I'm not good at not crying. I'm not good at big houses and guards and people staring at me all the time. His voice breaks completely. And I heard Mom on the phone. She said you don't have time for a kid. She said you're too busy running your business. She said you'll get tired of me messing everything up and you'll send me back. Raphael can't breathe. The words are crushing his chest, squeezing his lungs. His ex-wife said that where his son could hear. His son has been carrying this fear for months, and Raphael had no idea. He stands abruptly, his chair scraping back with a harsh sound. For a moment, Hazel thinks he's going to leave, going to walk away because the emotion is too much. But then he does something that surprises her completely. He walks around the table, and he kneels in front of his son, the same way Hazel did, down on the floor, eye level with Aiden. Listen to me, Raphael says, and his voice is shaking. I need you to hear this and believe it. Are you listening? Aiden nods, tears streaming down his face. I will never send you away. Do you understand me? Never. But Mom said, I don't care what your mother said. Raphael's hands come up to rest on Aiden's small knees. You are my son, you're mine, and I'm keeping you forever. Even when I mess up? Especially when you mess up. Even when I cry? Even when you cry? Even when I break things and hide and get scared of everything? Even then, Raphael says, and his voice cracks completely. Especially then, because that's when you need me most. And I'm not going anywhere, ever. Aiden stares at his father. And then, with a sob that comes from deep in his chest, he throws his small arms around Raphael's neck. He holds on like he's drowning, and his father is the only solid thing in the world. And Raphael, this man who controls empires, who makes multi-million-dollar deals without flinching, who's negotiated with some of the most dangerous people in the country, holds his 6-year-old son and lets every carefully constructed wall crumble. Hazel looks away, giving them this moment of privacy, even though she's still in the room. But she can hear it, the quiet sound of Raphael whispering promises, apologies, assurances, love in its rawest, most vulnerable form. "I'm sorry," Raphael whispers into his son's hair. "I'm so sorry you've been carrying this alone. I'm sorry I didn't see it. I'm sorry I didn't ask." "It's okay," Aiden hiccups. "It's not okay, but I'm going to do better. I promise you, Aiden, I'm going to do better." When Aiden finally pulls back, his face is blotchy and red, but his eyes are clearer than they've been in months, maybe years. "I'm sorry I broke the glass tonight," he whispers. "I don't care about glass. Glass can be replaced." Raphael's hands frame his son's face gently. "You can't be. You're irreplaceable. And I'm sorry I hid under the table. You never have to apologize for being scared. Never. Do you understand?" Aiden nods. Then he looks over at Hazel, and a small smile breaks through the tears. "Thank you for staying." "I'm really glad I could," Hazel says, her own throat tight with emotion. Raphael stands, his hand resting on Aiden's shoulder. He looks at Hazel, and she sees him completely unguarded for the first time. He looks exhausted, terrified, overwhelmed, and profoundly, desperately grateful. "Marco will take Aiden to get dessert," Raphael says quietly. "I'd like to speak with you for another moment, if that's all right." Aiden looks up. "But I want Hazel to stay with us." "Just 1 minute," Raphael says, his voice gentler than Hazel has heard it yet. "And then we'll all have dessert together. You can pick anything you want from the menu." Aiden's eyes go wide. "Anything? Anything? Can I get the chocolate lava cake and ice cream?" "You can get whatever you want." Marco steps forward, and Aiden takes his hand without hesitation now. As they leave, Aiden calls back, "Don't leave without saying goodbye, okay?" "I won't," Hazel promises. "I'll be right here." The door closes, and suddenly it's just Raphael and Hazel in this dim room full of heavy silence. Raphael sits down heavily in his chair. He runs both hands through his hair, destroying the careful styling. When he looks up at her, he looks 10 years older than he did an hour ago. "I don't know how to do this," he says. His voice is stripped completely bare. "I don't know how to talk to him. I don't know how to be what he needs." Hazel waits, letting him find his words. "I grew up in a house where emotion was weakness," Raphael continues, his words coming slowly, carefully, like he's excavating something buried deep. "My father ran the Moretti family with an iron fist. Crying was punished. Fear was not tolerated. You learned to swallow everything down and present a strong front, always." He picks up his wine glass, stares into it, but doesn't drink. "And now I have a son who feels everything," Raphael says, "who cries when he's overwhelmed, who hides when he's scared, who needs comfort and softness and things I don't know how to give." Hazel leans forward slightly. "He doesn't need you to be perfect. He just needs you to be present." "I don't know what that means." "It means what you just did," Hazel says, getting down on his level, looking him in the eyes, listening to his fear and meeting it with love instead of logic. That's presence. Raphael is quiet for a long time. Then he looks at her directly. "I want to hire you." Hazel blinks, startled. What? Not as a nanny, not as a therapist. Raphael's voice is steady now, decided. Just as someone who understands him, someone he trusts, someone who can help me learn how to be what he needs. Mr. Moretti, Raphael, he says, if you're going to help my son, you should call me Raphael. Hazel's mind races. This is insane. This is a mafia boss, a man whose name alone carries weight and danger, asking her to enter his world, his home, his life. I would pay you double your current salary here, Raphael continues. You'd come to the house 3 or 4 times a week, a few hours each visit. Just be there, talk to him, help me understand him. Hazel trails off, overwhelmed. I know it's unusual, Raphael says, but tonight you did in 30 minutes what dozens of professionals haven't been able to do in 6 months. And I'm desperate enough to ask for help, even from a stranger. Hazel looks at this powerful man sitting across from her, and she sees past everything else to the truth underneath. He loves his son, and he has no idea how to show it in a way Aiden can receive. She thinks about Aiden's drawing, the little house with the red door. She thinks about his whispered words, "You feel like home." And she knows she can't say no, even though it's probably a mistake, even though it's entering a world she knows nothing about, even though every logical part of her brain is screaming that this is dangerous. I'll do it, she says. Raphael exhales, a sound that's half relief, half disbelief. Thank you, he says. You have no idea what this means. When would you like me to start? Tomorrow, if you're available, 6 o'clock. Marco will pick you up. Hazel nods slowly, still processing the enormity of what she just agreed to. Can I ask you something? Raphael says. Of course. Why are you doing this? You don't know us. You don't know what you're walking into. Hazel is quiet for a moment, thinking about her answer. Then she says simply, because when I was 6 years old and terrified, no one helped me. No one saw me. No one stayed. She meets his eyes. And I don't want that to be Aiden's story. Something shifts in Raphael's expression. Recognition, maybe. Understanding. Or maybe just the beginning of trust. Aiden returns from the kitchen with Marco, chocolate smeared across his chin and pure joy on his face. I got 3 scoops and sprinkles, he announces. That's a lot of ice cream, Hazel says with a smile. Marco said I earned it for being brave. Aiden climbs back into his chair, picking up his spoon. He's nice, not like the other guards. Raphael glances at Marco, who gives an almost imperceptible nod. Aiden takes a bite of ice cream, then looks at Hazel seriously. Are you really coming to our house? If that's okay with you, Hazel says. It's more than okay. Aiden's voice is firm, then quieter. There's a lot I want to show you. Like what? Aiden sets down his spoon and picks up his drawing again, the little house with the red door. This is what I wish our house felt like, he whispers. Safe, small enough that you don't get lost. Raphael's expression tightens, but he doesn't interrupt. What else? Hazel asks gently. I don't like my new school, Aiden admits. Everyone knows who my dad is. They won't talk to me. Hazel's heart aches. They're probably just nervous. They don't know how to approach you yet. But what if they never do? What if I never have friends? You will, Hazel says. It just takes time, and maybe some practice. Aiden looks at his father. Can Hazel help me practice? Raphael's voice is softer than before. If she's willing. Will you? Aiden asks, turning hopeful eyes to Hazel. She can't say no to that face. Yes, I will. Aiden beams. Then he does something that surprises everyone. He slides out of his chair, walks over to Hazel, and climbs into her lap. He wraps his arms around her neck and rests his head on her shoulder. You're warm, he whispers. Hazel's arms come around him naturally, holding him close. Raphael watches them, his hands gripping the edge of the table. His breathing is careful, controlled. After a moment, Aiden lifts his head. He looks at Hazel with those big brown eyes and says, I like you. You feel like home. Hazel's throat tightens. She doesn't trust herself to speak, so she just holds him a little tighter. When she finally looks up at Raphael, she sees something that takes her breath away. His eyes are wet. He blinks quickly, turning his face away. But she saw it. This man who wields power like a weapon is crying. Because for the first time in months, his son feels safe. Hazel gently sets Aiden back in his chair. I should let you two get home. It's been a long evening. When will you come? Aiden asks. Hazel looks at Raphael. Tomorrow, Raphael says without hesitation. If you're available. I can be. Marco will pick you up at 6. Hazel nods. As she stands to leave, Aiden calls out, Hazel? She turns back. Thank you, he says, for not being scared of me. Hazel's chest tightens. I could never be scared of you, Aiden. Hazel is almost to the door when it slams open with force. A woman storms in, her heels clicking like gunshots against the marble. She's stunning. Sharp cheekbones, designer clothes, diamonds glittering at her throat. But her face is twisted with fury. Evelyn Moretti. Raphael! Her voice cuts through the restaurant. Who the hell is she? Raphael stands slowly, his expression hardening back into stone. Evelyn, you can't just barge in. Who else are you bringing into our son's life? Evelyn's eyes land on Hazel, raking over her from head to toe with undisguised contempt. A waitress? Hazel feels the weight of that stare, the judgment, the dismissal, but she doesn't flinch. Raphael steps between them, his voice low and dangerous. She's the only one who's helped him in months. Helped him? Evelyn laughs bitterly. By what? Playing house? You hired some girl off the street to replace me? Mom! Aiden's voice cuts through the tension like a knife. Evelyn turns, her expression softening just slightly. Baby, I'm here now. You don't need... This is Hazel, Aiden says, walking over and taking Hazel's hand. She helps me breathe when I can't. Evelyn goes very still. She looks at their joined hands, at the way Aiden stands close to this stranger without fear, at the way her son, is choosing someone else over her. Aiden, Evelyn says, her voice cracking. I'm your mother. I know, Aiden says quietly. But you and Dad yell a lot, and when you yell, I can't breathe. The words land like physical blows. Evelyn's face crumples. She sinks into the nearest chair, her hands covering her mouth. I didn't know, she whispers. I didn't know it was hurting you. You didn't ask, Aiden says, his voice impossibly small. Raphael's expression shifts, something between pain and resignation. Evelyn looks up at Hazel, her eyes red. What did you do that I couldn't? I listened, Hazel says simply. That's it? Sometimes that's everything. Evelyn stares at her for a long moment. Then she looks at her son, really sees him, and understands what she's been missing. He doesn't need grand gestures. He needs presence. I'm sorry, Aiden, Evelyn whispers. I'm so sorry I didn't hear you. Aiden walks over to his mother slowly. He doesn't hug her immediately, but he reaches out and touches her hand. "I'm not mad, Mom," he says. "I just want you and Dad to stop fighting." Evelyn's tears spill over. "We'll try, sweetheart. We'll really try." Aiden nods. Then he looks back at Hazel. "You're still coming tomorrow, right?" "I promise," Hazel says. Evelyn wipes her eyes, her gaze moving between Hazel and Raphael. "Thank you," she says quietly, "for being what I couldn't be in this moment." Hazel doesn't respond to that, because it's not about replacing anyone. It's about showing up when someone needs you. Raphael walks Evelyn to the door. Their conversation is low, tense, but there's less venom than before. When he returns, his shoulders are less rigid. He looks at Hazel, and she sees it, the shift in his eyes. Not the cold calculation of a syndicate leader, but the grateful gaze of a father who just found hope. The restaurant is nearly empty now. Most of the guests have left. The staff is beginning to clean up. The violinist has packed away his instrument. Hazel stands near the door of the private dining room, her shift long over, but her mind still spinning from everything that's happened tonight. Aiden has fallen asleep in his father's arms, exhausted from the emotional weight of the evening. Raphael holds him carefully, as if he's something precious that might break. And maybe he is. "I should go," Hazel says softly. Raphael nods, but before she can leave, he speaks. "Why did you help him?" Hazel turns back. "What do you mean?" "You didn't know him. You didn't know me. You had no reason to get involved." Raphael's voice is quiet. "Why did you?" Hazel is silent for a moment, thinking. Then she says, "When I was 7, I had a panic attack at school. No one knew what to do. Everyone just stared while I fell apart." She meets his gaze. "I didn't want that to happen to Aiden." Raphael's expression shifts, something raw and unguarded. "You're a rare person," he says. "I just believe in showing up," Hazel replies. "That's all any of us can do." Raphael looks down at his sleeping son. "He trusts you," he says quietly. "In one evening, you gave him something I've been trying to give him for months." "You gave it to him too," Hazel says, "when you got on your knees and promised him he wasn't going anywhere. That mattered more than you know." Raphael's jaw tightens. "I should have done it sooner." "You did it when he needed to hear it. That's what counts." They stand in silence for a moment, the weight of the evening settling over them like snow. Then Raphael shifts Aiden in his arms and moves toward the door. "Marco will drive you home." "I can take a cab." "I insist." Hazel nods. As they walk through the now quiet restaurant, the lights dimmed, the tables cleared, she feels something she hasn't felt in years. Purpose. She doesn't know what tomorrow will bring, doesn't know if she's making the right choice by entering this world. But when she thinks of Aiden's face, the way he smiled, the way he said, "You feel like home," she knows she can't walk away. At the door, Raphael pauses. "Thank you," he says. "For tonight, for saying yes, for everything." Hazel smiles softly. "I'll see you tomorrow." Tomorrow. She steps out into the cool night air. Marco waits by the car, professional and silent. But before she gets in, she glances back through the restaurant window. Raphael is still standing there, Aiden asleep against his shoulder. And for the first time all night, he doesn't look like a mafia boss. He just looks like a father. A man who's trying, a man who's learning. A man who found hope in the quiet voice of a waitress who knelt on a cold floor and said, "You're safe here." If this story reminded you that it's never too late to heal, to hope, or to love again, subscribe and join us tomorrow night for another journey of the heart, because every story we tell is an inspirational reminder. Even in the darkest rooms, light finds a way in. And sometimes that light is a quiet voice saying, "You're safe here." This is the kind of motivational romance that reminds us love isn't about power in the mafia world or any world. It's about presence. It's about courage. It's about choosing to kneel when everyone else is standing. Thank you for listening. We'll see you tomorrow night.